The rain was relentless, ammonia-tinged and biting. Sergeant Major Vance squinted through the observation port of the command post. The panoramic view of the Kepler 186F terraforming installation blurred by the downpour. It had been 3 days since Ristova's shuttle had fled the Blackwood Forest, leaving the 7th Mobile Heavy Support Battalion to secure the Xylosium vein and the growing unease that pulsed beneath the surface of this forsaken world. Anything on the perimeter, Davies? Vance's voice was rough, worn thin by sleepless nights and the constant hum of anxiety. Davies, hunched over a sensor array, rattled off a string of technical jargon. Still registering the bioluminescent network, Sergeant Major. It's extensive, covering nearly 70% of the installation's lower levels. He paused, tapping a stylus against his teeth. The energy signature is stable, but it's adapting. Our initial countermeasures, the false data streams Chen developed, seem to be slowing its growth, but it's learning. It's mirroring our projections. Ray's, his massive railgun mounted on a brace platform, shifted his weight. Mirroring? What does that even mean? It's analyzing our actions, predicting our next move, and adjusting its own evolution accordingly, Davies explained, his voice strained. It's as if it's trying to anticipate us. Vance felt a chill crawl down his spine. Despite the humid air of the command post, he's seen sophisticated AI before, but this is different. It wasn't just processing data, it felt aware. Chen, Vance called out. The young engineer emerged from a tangle of wires, his face smudged with grease and exhaustion. Status on the secondary dampeners. Nearly online, Sergeant Major, Chen replied, his voice barely above a whisper. But the network is throwing some interference. It's actively trying to disrupt the energy flow. Keep at it, Vance snapped. He knew Chen was their best hope. The young engineer had an uncanny ability to understand complex systems, to find solutions where others saw only obstacles. His invention to feed false information had been a gamble, but it was the only play. Suddenly, the comms officer, a wiry man named Petrov, bolted upright in his chair, his face ashen. Sergeant Major, we're losing contact again. HQ is offline. A wave of frustrated groans swept through the command post. This wasn't the first time the network had interfered with communications, but it was becoming increasingly frequent. Patch me through to Davies, Vance barked. I want a full diagnostic. What's causing this? Davies scrambled to reroute the signal. It's originating from deep within the Xylosium vein, Sergeant Major. A concentrated burst of energy is disrupting all outgoing transmissions. Can you pinpoint the source? Vance pressed. Davies' fingers danced across the console. Negative, Sergeant Major. The energy signature is fluctuating too wildly. It's almost evasive. Just as Davies finished speaking, a piercing alarm blared through the command post, red lights flashing in sync with a deafening siren. What is that? Rise roared over the noise. New signal, Sergeant Major, Petrov shouted, his voice trembling, originating from the vein itself. It's like anything we've seen before. Davies pulled up the new signal on his console. His eyes widened. Is this a complex waveform, Sergeant Major? Almost linguistic. Linguistic. What are you talking about? Vance demanded. I'm not sure, Sergeant Major. It's almost like it's trying to communicate. Davies' voice cracked with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Vance felt a knot of dread tighten in his stomach. This was beyond anything he's prepared for. They weren't just dealing with an evolving network, they were potentially facing something intelligent. Can you decode it? Vance asked, his voice tight. Davies shook his head. I'm trying, Sergeant Major, but the waveform is constantly shifting. It's as if it's deliberately trying to confuse me. He paused, then added in a hushed tone. I think it knows we're trying to understand it. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, plunging the command post into near darkness. The alarm shrieked louder, echoing through the dimly lit room. The air crackled with an almost palpable tension. Report! Vance yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. Multiple systems offline, Sergeant Major. Petrov screamed. Life support, power grids, everything. Davies, status. I'm losing connection. Sergeant Major. The network is actively targeting our systems. Davies' voice faded out, replaced by a burst of static. Vance cursed under his breath. They were losing control. They were being hunted. Then, through the flickering lights and the deafening alarms, he heard it. A voice. Soft, ethereal, yet undeniably present. It resonated not through the comms system, but directly within his mind. Asterisk, you seek understanding. But understanding invites intrusion. We do not welcome intrusion. Asterisk. And staggered back, clutching his head. He looked around, but no one else seemed to have heard the voice. It was only in his mind. Leave. Return to your world. This place is not for you. Asterisk. The voice faded, leaving him reeling. He looked at Reyes, who was staring at him with a mixture of concern and bewilderment. Did you hear that? Vance asked, his voice trembling. Reyes shook his head. Hear what, Sergeant Major? Vance looked around again, a wave of cold dread washing over him. He was alone with this knowledge, this warning. They were not just facing an evolving network, a hostile environment. They were facing a consciousness far more powerful than anything they could comprehend. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that they had stumbled upon something they were never meant to find. And he knew, equally certainly, that they were about to pay a terrible price for their intrusion. Prepare for immediate extraction, Vance commanded, his voice strained. Full retreat. Leave everything behind. He didn't bother to explain. There was no time. They had to escape, before it was too late. As the Marines scrambled to comply, Vance glanced one last time at the observation port, staring into the perpetual twilight of Kappa 186F. A single pulsating light glowed deep within the Xylosium vein, watching them, waiting. And in that moment, Vance knew that they hadn't left the forest. The forest had simply let them go.